Echelon bike versus Schwinn IC4 indoor cycling bike. In today's video, we're going to be comparing the Echelon Connect to the Schwinn IC4 indoor cycling bike and really try to get down to the bottom of which is the better bike for the money. The Echelon Connect Prime that I have there, I bought for just a tick under $500 on Amazon Prime. This bike is no longer available to buy, but it will be released under a new name coming very, very soon. So you can check the link in the description box and see if that bike is released yet and what the price is and what the ship times are and all that. The Schwinn IC4 there I also bought on Amazon, and it cost me just a tick under $900 plus tax. Both come with free shipping, and they were both delivered right to my front door up there in a box similar to what you see there on the Schwinn box. And what I had to do is just take each of these, the Schwinn IC4 as well as the Echelon Connect, out of the box and build it. The Schwinn IC4 was a little bit more difficult to build, which I did make a video showing how to build the Schwinn IC4. So if you buy it and you need help, or you're just curious what it's like to actually build the Schwinn IC4, you can watch that video after this. So if you do want to buy the Schwinn IC4 or the Echelon Connect bike, or see if they're in stock on Amazon, you can click that link in the description box below this video. And if you buy through the link in the description box, that will help support this channel. So I would appreciate it if you are planning on buying one of these bikes to simply click on that bike and purchase through that link. Before we get started with the Schwinn IC4 versus Echelon Connect bike comparison, I want to let you know there are chapters linked below this video in the description box, as well as if you just look on the YouTube progress bar, you can fast forward and skip around in this video to find the exact information or the particular information. If there's something you're searching for, you can just kind of skip forward and backwards. You don't have to watch this video from beginning to end, because it is going to be kind of a longer video, really diving deep and just getting into it and seeing, you know, which bike should you spend your money on if you're going to invest in an indoor cycling bike. We will be trying to do our best to ignore the Peloton Bike Plus back there in the background, because this is a comparison video of the Schwinn IC4 versus the Echelon Connect. And really what both of these bikes kind of are, truly, is an alternative, a cheaper alternative to the Peloton Bike Plus. I mean, that is a $2,500 bike back there. And up here, both of these bikes are under $1,000. And even if you bought both of these bikes, their combined price and all of these accessories you see here is still less than just the Peloton Bike Plus by itself. But right away, you can see both of them have a red resistance knob, and they are both magnetic resistance, and they both have a belt driven drive, so they are not chain driven, which means they are both very quiet bikes. So, you know, if noise is a concern, you definitely want a belt driven bike. If you're finding the information in this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, because that really helps support this channel. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave me a comment in the comment section below, and I will get back to you answering your question or potentially making an entire video on the topic if it's worth it. From a distance here, you can see both of the bikes have a very similar appearance, but not exactly the same. You know, the Schwinn IC4 has a different kind of paint to it. It's got more of a silvery gunmetal kind of look to it, whereas the Echelon Connect bike here is more of a flat black that resembles more of what you would see on the Peloton back there. Other than that though, you know, they have the same, or not the same, but a similar resistance knob. I can tell you right off the bat, the resistance knob on the Schwinn IC4 only takes about 4 full rotations to get it from 0 to 100 resistance, which is nice. You know, if you're trying to get from one resistance to the other quickly, that's something you want to be able to do. The Echelon Connect over here, it takes a lot more turns to get from 0 to 32 is the max resistance on the Echelon Connect bike. Which leads me into the first kind of benefit that the Schwinn IC4 might have over the Echelon Connect bike, and that is the resistance on the Schwinn bike is 0 to 100, whereas the Echelon Connect bike goes from 0 to 32. So it makes it much more difficult to follow along with a Peloton class, which, let's be honest, almost everybody buying one of these bikes is trying to buy it so that they can add their own tablet, which would go right up here on the Echelon bike or right here on the Schwinn bike. And you know what you do, I don't need to tell you what you do, but you know, you just pull up that Peloton app, and that's how you basically get a DIY style Peloton bike at a fraction of the cost. So before I show you more of the similarities of these two bikes, let me tell you one big thing that makes these two bikes different. The Schwinn IC4 comes with a screen on it. No, you can't play like a Peloton class or something through this Schwinn screen, but this little screen right here will give you your resistance. So what your resistance setting is on this knob, it will show. I can turn the pedals real quick here to show you how it turns on. Basically, as soon as I do this, it'll turn the screen on, and you can start to get your metrics there. I mean, I guess I need to pedal a little bit, but as you can see there, it has the resistance level, as well as at the top, you can see the RPMs, which is your cadence. And also the cadence can be cast directly from the Schwinn bike onto the Peloton app. As of today, I've heard some rumors that this may be changing in the future, but if you're playing the Peloton app currently, this bike, the Schwinn IC4, will cast your cadence up onto the Peloton tablet app. So one really nice thing about the Schwinn IC4 is you can really just kind of hop straight on this bike without needing to connect any sort of cell phone or app, and you'll get your metrics right there in terms of your resistance level and your cadence, which are the big numbers. Additionally, you can see there are other metrics on there such as calories, speed, distance, and the Schwinn IC4 also comes with a heart rate monitor, which I tested the other day. I found this to be just about as accurate as the Scosche Rhythm Plus here. Both of these gave me very similar readouts. So, I mean, the Schwinn IC4, you're gonna get a heart rate monitor that comes in the box. So if you don't have one and you want one, you know, it's kind of, the Schwinn IC4 is a more of a complete package. So over here on the Echelon, if you want your metrics, the Echelon Connect does not come with any sort of screen on it. This is my cell phone. I basically just connected the Echelon, I downloaded the Echelon app, and I opened the Echelon app, and this will give you your metrics similar to what you would get over there on the Schwinn screen. The difference being is you have to hook up your cell phone or some sort of device to get these metrics. So hopping on here and giving it a little pedal, you can see that the cadence will start to show up there. And that is how fast I'm pedaling, 37. And the resistance is at 27. And you just turn this knob to crank up the resistance. And the max resistance is 32 on this bike. The next big difference between the two bikes, the Echelon bike and the Schwinn IC4 bike, I want to point out is the pedals. So the Schwinn IC4 comes with a dual-sided pedal. One side has an SPD style clip right there. If you look closely, you can see it. Your shoe with an SPD style clip will clip right into there. Or if you don't have that, there are cage style pedals on the other side. So you can use either side. And this is what an SPD style shoe looks like. Both of these shoes are SPD. The ones on the left here are my ugly ones, and these ones on the right are my girlfriend's pretty ones. You can ignore these AirPods. These are nice to ride with if you want to listen to music. And on the bottom side of these shoes basically is you have a little SPD style cleat there, and that will just kind of snap right onto there, which you can't do just with your hand. You need to apply some force with your foot. On the bottom of these shoes, it is the same exact cleat. These are just my old ugly shoes I've been having. I've had these for like 7 or 8 years now. Over here on the Echelon bike, we actually swapped out the standard pedals that come on this bike for some SPD pedals. So the standard pedals that come on the bike look just like this. It's just a normal cage style pedal. And on the other side here, there is just a flat surface. So these do not have SPD clip-ins. However, it might be possible to add a SPD style clip, but I don't think I would really recommend it because these pedals aren't the greatest. What we did is we just took my Shimano SPD style cleats here, or Shimano style pedals, and put these on the bike, and they work great. The same shoes I just showed you can clip into these pedals, and they can clip in on either side. If you are going to be doing indoor cycling, I would recommend you clip in because you will get a better workout and it will transform your riding experience. I will tell you, it is totally different riding clipped in. You will get a better workout clipped in than not clipped in. And these bikes do have a lot in common, but let's look at some more of the differences. So they are both magnetic resistance, as I mentioned, and they are both belt driven. Both of the drivetrains are covered by a plastic covering, so you can't get anything stuck in the belt or damage the belt or pinch your finger in the belt. However, where some of the differences lie here is the flywheel on the Schwinn IC4 is exposed, and it is, depending on who you ask, more beautiful. The Schwinn IC4 has a better look to it, I think. I really like the look of the exposed flywheel. And over here on the Echelon Connect, the flywheel is enclosed in this plastic housing, which does have its own benefits as well. Since the flywheel is enclosed in the housing, and you can't really touch it other than if you somehow got your finger in through that hole, or if you stuck your fingers up under here, you can't touch the flywheel, so it will keep you safe from, say, clothing falling into it, or maybe a pet or a child sticking their hand in there and getting caught in these spokes, which would be pretty dangerous if this was not enclosed. However, over on the Schwinn, which is, I should point out, the Schwinn IC4 has a very similar exposed flywheel as the Peloton Bike Plus. And I think it creates for a very beautiful finish. Now, there are no spokes on the Schwinn IC4, so you don't really risk getting something caught in a spoke like a bicycle wheel. However, in theory, you could potentially get some clothing wrapped up in there, or, there is some potential hazard there, even though it's not really a big hazard. Now what I want to do is jump up here to the handlebars and show the Schwinn IC4 handlebars, because this is one thing that really sets the Schwinn IC4 apart from a lot of the other bikes I have seen. These handlebars on the Schwinn IC4 have the ability to slide forward and backwards. All you have to do is loosen up this little knob right here, if I can turn it the right way. And once you loosen that up, these handlebars can slide forwards and backwards. And it has a good amount of adjustment there. And once you get them where you want them, you can tighten them down, just turning that knob down there, and snug them up. Now, the Echelon Connect Bike and the Peloton Bike Plus do not have the ability to move their handlebars forwards and backwards. So the Schwinn IC4, in theory, has a much better ability for you to really dial in this bike to fit you properly. In terms of adjustments, the Schwinn IC4 can also raise and lower the handlebars quite a bit. The seat goes up and down. And there are, on the Schwinn bike here, there are these little holes that you will need to attach this knob into. So the Schwinn IC4 doesn't really have like an infinite amount of adjustability. You have to click it into one of these holes, which are spaced about a 1/2 inch apart. So you won't be able to really dial it into the millimeter there. The seat can also be adjusted to go forward and backwards. All you do is loosen up that little lever right there and you can move it forwards and backwards, which is very similar to the standard Peloton bike and also the Peloton Bike Plus. And the same exact thing over here on the Echelon Connect. It just has these knobs right here. I can never remember which way to turn it. So you just loosen up the knob and you can slide the seat forwards and backwards and then lock it into place once you have it where you want it. On the Echelon bike, you will also have to connect the seat into one of these holes so you don't have like an infinite amount of adjustability on the seat. As far as the handlebars go, it's the same case over here on the Echelon bike. You will have to click it into one of these holes, and basically all that means is you just won't have an infinite amount of adjustability in your handlebar height. If you take a look there, you can see the holes. They're spaced about a 1/2 inch apart. Whereas over here on the Schwinn bike, there are not holes for you to connect into. So these handlebars on the Schwinn IC4 have more of an infinite amount of adjustability up and down. I should also point out both seats, you can adjust the tilt up and down. So if you want to tilt the seat more up or more down, all you do is loosen up that bolt right there and you can tilt it up and down as well as slide it along those rails for even more adjustability forwards and backwards. And that is the same exact case over here on the Echelon bike. It has the same exact connection. You can tilt the seat up and down and slide it forward and backwards. Or you could completely swap out the seat for a different seat, which leads me into the actual seat. The Echelon Connect seat looks like this. It's pretty basic, no frills, very simple seat. I have found it to be comfortable. It's fairly soft. I know some people like their seat to be really soft. I prefer not a soft seat. And over here on the Schwinn IC4, this seat is different. It has like a little cutout hole there and it's got just like a different look to it. Little dimples kind of in the seat and definitely looks like a little more fancy of a seat. Personally, in terms of riding on the bike, I don't really notice much of a difference between the two. But this is something that really kind of comes down to personal preference. We'll take a look at one other thing that is different with the Schwinn IC4 versus the Echelon bike, and that is the Schwinn IC4 comes with these dual water bottle holders up here on front, as well as a little weight rack down there on the bottom side, and these are the exact weights that came with the Schwinn IC4. Over here on the Echelon, which cost $500 instead of $900, there is no weight holders whatsoever, and the bike does not come with any weights. You get this water bottle holder right down here. And this water bottle holder has its own disadvantages compared to these water bottle holders, which I will show you now. So here on the Echelon bike, this water bottle holder tends to have a problem where if it's too long, it will hit up against the resistance knob. So you just need a smaller water bottle to fit in there without hitting up against the resistance knob. Now over here on the Schwinn IC4, it's nice because there are two water bottle holders. However, the downside over here is the direction they face. So if you are tall, I'm 6'5", and you need to have the handlebars close to you when you get out of the saddle, your knees can hit these water bottles if they're too big. The workaround here would be to, you know, maybe just set the water bottles like that. But anyway, you get 2 water bottle holders on the Schwinn IC4, whereas on the Echelon over there, you only get 1 water bottle holder. And if you're planning on doing weight training, incorporating weights into your, so that bike just slid on me there when I kind of stepped there and pushed off on it. So I'll talk about the feet on these 2 bikes in just a moment. But if you're going to be doing weights on the bike, it's beneficial that there are little weight holders right there for you on the Schwinn IC4. So my floor here is slippery, you know, it's LVP, and this bike can just kind of slide along it there. Whereas the Echelon Connect bike has rubber feet and they really stick. So let's go down here and take a closer look at the feet. Here on the Echelon bike, you can see the rubber feet down there. And if you want to adjust them, you need to get down under here and adjust them like that. These are some nice, thick, padded rubber feet that are very similar to what is on the Peloton Bike Plus over there. Very similar style. Over here on the Schwinn IC4, the feet, I would have a difficult time showing them to you, but they are not rubber feet like you'll find on the Peloton Bike Plus or on the Echelon Connect bike. However, these feet on this bike are easier to adjust because there is a little knob here that allows you to adjust the feet. Now, I have not really had this bike sliding around on me, but I guess you could say that the feet on the Schwinn IC4 are not quite as sticky as the feet on the Echelon Connect bike. So this bike, basically, it will move, but not nearly as easily as the Schwinn. As you can see, both of the bikes have these little rolly wheels up on the front, and I would say both of them are about as easy to tip up on their front and move them around to where you want to move them. They're both pretty easy to move. The Peloton Bike Plus over there is quite difficult to move because it is very heavy and there's that big screen up there that makes it pretty difficult to move. But I mean, it's not so bad because you really don't move your bike too often anyway, unless you're me and you have 3 bikes inside of an 800 square foot apartment, then you probably won't be moving your bike around that much. So now what we're gonna do is take a closer look at the drivetrains of the Schwinn IC4 and the Echelon Connect bike and really compare. I'm gonna show you the difference in the chainstay, the distance from the center of the crank to the center of the flywheel on both of these bikes, see how they measure up. I have not measured that yet. A longer chainstay, the longer that distance is, the more stable and smooth of a output you will get. The Peloton Bike Plus has a long chainstay. It is a very smooth and nice, very nice, consistent, steady drivetrain on the Peloton Bike Plus. But both of these bikes have a shorter chainstay than the Peloton Bike Plus. I don't know if one is longer than the other or not. We'll see in a moment. The other thing I'm going to try to compare for you is the flywheels. So we looked at the physical properties of them a little bit, but we're gonna try and measure them and analyze them a little bit further. I wanna take a moment to talk about flywheels in general. People seem to believe that the heavier the flywheel, the better the flywheel is. However, that is not necessarily true. If you look at, say, supercars, you know, like Ferraris, for example, compared to a Mustang, the Ferrari uses a light flywheel, and it really comes down to inertia is what you're trying to get, a flywheel that has good inertia. So like the Kaiser flywheel is very light, but it has a lot of inertia due to its properties. So I want to take a moment to talk about flywheels for a moment. It seems to be a common misconception that a heavy flywheel is automatically better than a light flywheel, and that is not the case. What you want on an indoor cycling bike is a flywheel that has inertia, good inertia. So it doesn't necessarily matter just about the mass. It also comes down to the size and where that mass is allocated on the flywheel. So if you have, say you had like a little tiny flywheel that was only, you know, 4 or 5 inches big, but it weighed 90 pounds, it's not going to have the same inertia as a big diameter flywheel with that weight on the outside of the flywheel due to physics. All right, guys, it's getting real now. We're breaking out the tape measure to measure first of all, we'll take a look at the flywheels of these bikes, and then we'll take a look at the chainstay. So first things first, we'll measure the distance of the center out to the edge of the flywheel, which is still 9, and I've measured this in previous videos. It might be just a tick under 9 inches, but basically the diameter there is 9 inches. Or sorry, the radius there is 9 inches. Moving on over here to the Echelon, measuring from the center to the, well, this does not go all the way out to the outside of here. This flywheel actually ends here, which is actually more like 8 inches. So the flywheel on the Echelon is smaller. If I reach my finger up under here, I can feel that the edge of this flywheel it comes out to about the edge of this plastic right here. Not all the way out to the very edge, but where it starts to arch. And that comes out to be about 8 inches. So this flywheel is about 8 inches, but if we take a closer look at how it's designed, we can see that this flywheel has spokes. So all the mass of this flywheel must be on this outside edge and what is in the mass of these spokes. And there is no mass where it is hollow there in the middle. Now, as comparison over there on, the Peloton, you can see the Peloton Bike Plus flywheel is solid, just the same way as the Schwinn IC4 flywheel is solid, and they both have this heavier mass. It appears to be like a heavier mass right here, and then just like this thin plate towards the outside. And so that heavier mass falls around basically from about 5 inches out to 6.5 inches, and then the flywheel extends to right around 9 inches. So, we could just look at these and look at the characteristics all day, but really the only thing that matters is how the bikes ride. And I will be getting on these bikes and giving you a side-by-side ride comparison, what they feel like and their max resistances. But before we do that, I want to show you the chainstay differences in their distances. If you're finding the information in this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up because that really helps support this channel. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave me a comment in the comment section below, and I will get back to you answering your question or potentially making an entire video on the topic if it's worth it. Like I said before, a long chainstay results in a smoother power output. This chainstay happens to be 17.5 inches from the center of the crank to the center of the flywheel. So let's see how that compares over here to the Echelon Connect. A shorter chainstay generally results in like a snappier kind of feel, a snappier ride, a quicker, more jolty kind of riding experience. So let's take a look here, and we'll measure from the center of the crank straight on out. What do you know? They're pretty much the same, 17.5. So 17.5 inch chainstay on both of these bikes. From a distance, they looked about the same, and it turns out they are. In just a moment here, I'm going to be getting on each of these bikes and doing a side-by-side comparison and see how the ride quality feels from the Schwinn IC4 to the Echelon Connect bike. But right now, I'm really just kind of juggling around in my head and trying to ask the question, why spend $900 on the Schwinn IC4 when you can get the Echelon Connect bike for $500? So the Schwinn IC4, it comes with the clip-in pedals. So, if you're planning on clipping in and you don't want to buy clip-in pedals, that's one benefit the Schwinn has. Another one is, this one has the screen on it and all your metrics are available. However, on the Echelon Connect, all you have to do is throw your cell phone on there and download the Echelon app for free, and you can get your metrics in the same way as the little screen that comes on the Schwinn IC4. Additionally, the Schwinn IC4 comes with this heart rate monitor, which, based on what I've been able to tell, is about as accurate, very similar accuracy level as the Scosche Rhythm Plus, and this thing cost about $70, I believe. I have a link in the description box to that. You also get the weights with the Schwinn IC4, but I mean, if you already have your own weights, you might not need a bike that comes with weights. You might also not need 2 water bottle holders. However, I mean, this bike does have 2 water bottle holders, whereas the Echelon Connect only has a single water bottle holder. But if you are, you know, next to some furniture, you could just set your water bottle down on the furniture. So I mean, really, a lot of these things are personal preference. And then, you know, one of the big ones is these handlebars have the ability to adjust forwards and backwards. So do you need that ability to really fine tune, you know, your riding position? Do you need to get the handlebars extra close to you? Do you need to be able to extend the handlebars out really far to get really stretched out and really put down a lot of power while you're in the saddle? Before I get on these bikes, I will take a closer look at the handlebars for you as well. The Schwinn IC4 has kind of like a little bit of an arch down on the handlebars, and there are a variety of riding positions. It has a very nice feel to the rubber on these handlebars, and there's these nice flat things up here on the front, so you can kind of just get your hand flat on there. Oh, drop that. Water bottle fell. So these handlebars are nice, and a view from the side there, you can see that the ends kind of just go up, and there's a variety of riding positions. You can also hold right here, and it's nice that this part is flat straight across on the Schwinn IC4. Over here on the Echelon Connect bike, the handlebars are similar, but not the same. So you also get a variety of riding positions. These handlebars also have a very nice feel to them. Down here on the bottom, you get more of like a U shape or a bow, so it's not flat across. And also, I will show you, they don't like arch down, which, I mean, that would just be kind of a personal preference if you wanted that or not. I haven't found it to really impact my ride whatsoever either way. And also the side profile here, you can see these handlebars kind of come out, and then they also go up. So there are some minor differences. You kind of can put your thumb in this little divot there, little dimple. It doesn't have like the flat thing there like we have over here on the Schwinn IC4. Overall, both handlebars are nice. I like them both. All right, so let's talk about the height of the bikes. Both of these bikes are on their maximum height settings in terms of seat height as well as handlebar height. And that is because I am 6'5", and I will say that I am pretty much maxing out the height on both of these bikes. So if you are 6'5", or maybe even like 6'3" or 6'4" or taller, you will probably be pushing the max height of either of these bikes. If you're finding the information in this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up because that really helps support this channel. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave me a comment in the comment section below, and I will get back to you answering your question or potentially making an entire video on the topic if it's worth it. So now what I'm gonna do is go grab my tape measure and show you the max height of these seats on each of the bikes. And I'll just measure from the front of the seat down to the pedal, which on this one is 36 inches, and with the pedal all the way down on this one as well, 37 inches. The Schwinn IC4 has about 1 inch higher in terms of max seat height. As a demonstration, I'll go ahead and hop on here on the Schwinn IC4 and show you what it looks like, and then we'll get on the Echelon Connect bike and see. And I can tell that this bike is slightly smaller in terms of from the seat to the pedal. If you're a little bit taller, you really need that extra seat height. The Schwinn IC4 is a little bit bigger than the Echelon Connect. And I want to show you real quick what the minimum height settings are on both of these bikes. Like I said, the Schwinn IC4 has a higher maximum height, but let's see how the minimum height on both of these bikes compares. So I'll drop down the seat all the way. It's on the bottom click for both of them. Drop the handlebars down. And one of the big benefits here on the Schwinn is you can also adjust the handlebars to come closer to you. So if you are really short or really tall, that might come in handy. But I'll go ahead, I'm 6'5" again, and I'll just show you what it looks like here all the way on the lowest settings. The handlebars are as far as they come towards me. I can show you what they look like extended out a little bit as well. So that's extended all the way out. And then all the way towards me. And these handlebars don't adjust forwards and backwards, just up and down. I'll take both seats and put them all the way forward as well. So in terms of minimum height, I would say these bikes are both pretty similar when it comes to minimum height and also maximum height, although the Schwinn IC4 has a little bit higher maximum height. And since both bikes have SPD style pedals on them, I'm going to go ahead and throw on my SPD style shoes and do a side-by-side comparison and just feel what the maximum resistance is on each of the bikes and really just how they compare to one another. So I got my shoes on, go ahead and clip in here, and I'm just going to compare the drivetrains of the two bikes and do a side-by-side comparison for you. If you find this information in this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up because that really helps support this channel. And if you have any questions about any of these bikes, just leave me a comment in the comment section below this video and I'll get back to you. So that pedal was clicking a little bit. If you're finding your Schwinn IC4 has a clicking noise on the drivetrain, you might want to just go ahead and snug up the pedals. I have a separate video on how to snug up and change pedals if you need help. So I just cranked the resistance up to 100, which is the max resistance on the Schwinn IC4. And I'm just going to kind of get up and pedal and see how it feels and how it compares to the Echelon Connect. So that's quite a bit of resistance on the Schwinn IC4. It's not as much as the Peloton Bike Plus, which we're not talking about in this video, but this is quite a bit of resistance on 100. I can't imagine riding on resistance 100 for very long on the Schwinn IC4. So now I'm just going to crank this resistance down to 15 and kind of just pedal a little bit here on the Echelon. Now I'm going to crank it up to max resistance 32 and see how the max resistance feels. It's on 32. Still a lot of resistance. My initial impressions are the Schwinn IC4 has a higher max resistance than the Echelon Connect. That's a lot of resistance on max resistance of 32, but I do think the Schwinn IC4 has a higher max resistance. Honestly though, it's really pretty close. Like, I'm on resistance 100 on the Schwinn IC4. Let me pop off here and get right over there onto the Echelon. Straight into 32. Output is 400. So it's close, but I will say the Schwinn IC4 I think does have a higher max resistance. So obviously, the max resistance on these bikes is like enough to wear me out really quickly. I do think the Schwinn IC4 has a little bit higher max resistance than the Echelon, but neither of these bikes have as high of a max resistance as the Peloton Bike Plus. So what I'm going to do now is just crank both the resistance down to 50%. So on the Schwinn IC4, I'll put it at level 50. Over there on the Echelon bike, that is going to be resistance of 16. 32 divided by 2, 16. So we're at 50%. And I just want to feel just how it feels, you know? Actually, I'm going to crank it down to, so now what I'm going to do is just put the resistance down to about 30%, 33%. The resistance level is 32 on this bike, and then when we get on there, we'll do resistance of about 10 or 11 to make that one 30% as well, and just do a side-by-side comparison and the drivetrains and how they feel. So my cadence here is right about 100. Resistance is 32. Drivetrain feels nice, it's quiet, it's smooth. You can hear it's extremely quiet. I think the Schwinn IC4 is actually the quietest bike out of the Echelon bike as well as the Peloton bike. This is a very silent bike and it feels very smooth. So I'm going to crank this resistance down from 32 all the way down to about 10, and that should in theory be about 30% resistance. I'll clip in, just kind of feel it out. Cadence is 112, so I think I need to crank it up a little bit. I don't think resistance like 10 is 30%. So I have the resistance on 15. Cadence is 100, 105. Again, it's a very quiet bike, but there's definitely a little bit more noise happening on the Echelon bike compared to the Schwinn IC4. As a taller person, I can tell you right away, I can notice that this seat does not go quite as high as the Schwinn IC4. So if you're a taller person or just a bigger person with more mass and power, I would say the Schwinn IC4 is a little bit better in those categories in terms of height and if you need a higher max resistance. I'm just going to kind of pedal and then apply backward resistance and feel the inertia of the flywheel and how that compares from one to the other bike. So inertia-wise, I can tell you the Schwinn IC4 does appear to have some sort of a better build quality about it. Okay. Hello, Zoki.
Hello, Mom.
So I spent a little bit of time hopping back and forth from the Schwinn IC4 over to the Echelon Connect Bike, back and forth, just comparing the drivetrains and how the flywheels feel, just to compare what they feel like. And honestly, they're really pretty similar. Like when it comes to inertia, how easy it is to kind of stop the flywheel from moving, I think the Schwinn IC4 has a little bit more inertia, and that probably just comes down to the flywheel diameter or radius being a little bit bigger on the Schwinn IC4 compared to the Echelon Connect. Do I think the Schwinn IC4 feels $400 better than the Echelon Connect? That's a hard question to answer. I mean, the Schwinn IC4 also has other benefits like the screen, the weights, the weight holders, the Bluetooth, heart rate monitor, the clip-in style pedals, and the Schwinn IC4, I would say personally, I think is the better looking bike of the two. The Echelon has a lot of plasticky components. The flywheel is hidden away, whereas I think the exposed flywheel on the Schwinn IC4 just looks nicer. So really the question is, do you want to pay $500 for the Echelon Connect bike or $900 for the Schwinn IC4? You know, over on the Echelon, you'll have to bring your own Bluetooth enabled device here to get your metrics such as resistance and cadence, whereas that is just built in straight to the Schwinn bike. Both the Schwinn IC4 and the Echelon Connect bike are nice pieces of machinery. Overall, I would say the Schwinn IC4 is the better looking bike with the exposed flywheel and the metal components to it, whereas, the Echelon bike also has some metal to it, but all of this big plastic housing around the flywheel, I think, kind of takes away from the beauty of the bike. However, it does make it a little bit more safe in theory, since you can't get anything caught in this flywheel, whereas you can touch the flywheel on the Schwinn IC4. The Schwinn IC4 comes with the clip-in style pedals as well as the cage pedals, whereas on the Echelon bike you will get these cage style pedals, and if you want clip-in style pedals you'll have to buy those separate. Each of the bikes you can attach a tablet and do the same exact Peloton classes, or you won't be locked into any particular platform. You can do like the Apple Fitness Plus when that comes out, or free classes, but over here on the Echelon Connect you will need to have 2 devices in order to do that. Usually what you do is just bring your smartphone and you can get your metrics such as resistance and cadence on the Echelon Connect bike, whereas on the Schwinn IC4 it already has a screen built straight into it. So if you don't want to mess with connecting up multiple devices, all you need to do is just turn on, you don't even need to turn on the screen, just have it plugged in, and once you turn the pedals over, the screen will turn on automatically, and you automatically get your cadence and your resistance right on this screen. So it's a little bit more plug and play, it's a little more simple to operate the Schwinn IC4. And then you just throw your tablet right up here if you want to do the Peloton classes or the Apple Fitness Plus or whatever class you want to do, or no class at all. If you are planning on doing the Peloton classes, this Schwinn IC4 has a resistance from 0 to 100, and also you only have to turn this knob like 4 times to get from 0 all the way to 100, whereas the Echelon bike, this goes from 0 to 32, and it takes a lot of turns to get from one to the other side of the spectrum of resistances. However, the big point really is that since this is 0 to 100 on the Schwinn IC4, it will be, in theory, easier to follow along with the Peloton classes, since Peloton uses a 0 to 100 scale and not 0 to 32 like the Echelon bike. So if you do want to buy the Schwinn IC4 or the Echelon Connect bike, or see if they're in stock on Amazon, you can click that link in the description box below this video, and if you buy through the link in the description box, that will help support this channel. So I would appreciate it if you are planning on buying one of these bikes to simply click on that bike and purchase through that link. I hope this Echelon versus Schwinn IC4 bike has been helpful to you. If you learned anything or you found this information beneficial, if you'd give me a thumbs up, click that like button, I'd really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, leave me a comment in the comment section below. So that sums up this Echelon Connect versus Schwinn IC4 video. And if you would like to see more about how the app works with these bikes, I have a separate video on that. You can look for the Echelon Connect demo and see how that works with the Peloton app. And I will be doing more of a full review of the Schwinn IC4 here in the near future. So go ahead and subscribe and click the notification bell if you would like to see updates from this channel about new videos coming out. That's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video.